अभी
1
अभी
minute left.
अभी हाँ, अभी थोड़ा सा टाइम बचा हुआ है। तो हम लोग बस मैं वेट कर रही हूँ कि एफबी पर एक बार लाइव हो जाए तो मैं आपको तुरंत ग्रीन
Okay,
कर दूँ।
okay, okay.
ओके
Okay.
मैम वी आर रेडी, हम स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं अभी पे लाइव एज सुन एज लेक्चर स्टार्ट।
okay. So we are live now. Just wait for. We will be waiting for 1 more minute so that it will be officially 11 o'clock. So now it's 11. Ma'am, Archana ma'am,
Okay,
11 o'clock हो चुका है. Please आप welcome करें बाला sir
okay,
को.
okay, okay. I'm starting. It is a pleasure for us, Professor Balaganapathi Devarakonda, Professor, the Department of Philosophy, Delhi University, is among us to deliver a lecture. Yeah, I welcome you, sir, in the web workshop and Introduction to Women Position in Philosophy, in collaboration with Champion Committee, Department of Philosophy, Delhi University, and Department of Philosophy, Vasanta College for Women, Krishnamurti Foundation, India. You are such a nice personality and of a cooperative nature. Once again, I welcome you, sir, and I request beloved our co-coordinator, Dr. Ritu, Assistant Professor and Convener of Champion Committee, the Department of Philosophy, Delhi University, to introduce Professor Balaganapathi sir and conduct the session. Dr. Ritu.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah, Ritu, introduction was already done in the first inaugural session, so you can leave that out.
Okay, sir. Then I would just like to know, I don't know whether all these people were there in the inaugural session or not, but at least I would like to say that your personality says a lot about you. And your academic work says a lot about your hard work. So since yes, you are right that the introduction has already been done in the inaugural session. And anyone can check your CV or profile, whatever your academic career online. But the only thing I would like to say, which nobody can see, is that that the way you have tried to guide us, and obviously not only for the organization of this workshop, but also for our academic career too. And you have been a part of so many government organizations, and you have done so many projects. You have taken care of the administrative position for so many years, and still you have such a patient and cooperative nature, and that is very hard to find. So that is a small introduction which I would like to give, so that at least we can tell the other people that what kind of a head we have in our department. So I'm glad to say that. And with these words, sir, I would like to invite you to this workshop, and you can present your lecture. And sir, as Archana ma'am has already said, that there are a few students, since this workshop is being live on all India level, and there are so many students who are from Hindi medium, so they are finding it difficult to catch up whatever is going on here. So if you can say a few words in Hindi, that's fine. Otherwise, I will be summarizing your lecture. So I can do that very easily. So sir, it's up to you, and I welcome you once again. Please, sir.
Thank you so much. Good morning to all of you. I think at the outset, I should thank Dr. Archana for coming forward for this collaboration and organizing this wonderful workshop, which all of us are enjoying well all these days. And we would be enjoying it as well till the end of this week. And Dr. Ritu for coordinating quite well with Vasanta College and Dr. Archana, and making this wonderful platform of academic deliberations possible for all of us. So I really appreciate their efforts in coming together and planning this workshop and doing it quite well, handling it quite well. Thank you so much to both of you for that. Yeah, with regard to Hindi, I think thank you so much, Ritu, for agreeing to share the burden. So I would speak for I would try to lessen the time of my speech so that you can have sufficient time to translate it because I am from Andhra Pradesh and I am not exposed to Hindi well completely, and I am in Delhi only since last 3-4 years. So my Hindi is very bad. So I don't want to take chances. So because then you would start blaming me for using a different kind of gendered language. If I use Hindi, I will forget all genders in Hindi. So I don't want to get into controversies. Please excuse me for that. Right?
Okay,
Yeah,
it's fine. It's completely fine. You give your lecture and then I will be summarizing it at the end of the lecture.
right. Thank you
Okay,
so
sir.
much,
It's
Ritu, for
okay.
that.
It's okay, sir.
Yeah, even on the first day, I was trying to talk about this, that the workshop is trying to address the issue of the place of women in philosophy. And I was mentioning that how do we look at it? There are two perspectives, at least, that I was mentioning. One is how many women are really there contributing to philosophy of whichever country it may be, right? Is that what we are trying to say or seek? Or the other perspective is what is the space that is given to each one of the perspectives in philosophy that we look at. Like when we look at metaphysics, which means the quest for reality, understanding reality, did we give enough space, or is our reality that we have constructed completely gendered or biased, or did we give sufficient space for all the genders? No, I don't want to just limit myself to masculine and feminine. I want to extend it to third gender as well. So that is how have we given sufficient space in our metaphysics, in our conception of reality, to all the three genders is very important for us to look at. Similarly, when we started learning our epistemological tools, when we started looking at the world and trying to learn how to look at the world, no? See, unless I wear these glasses, I cannot see the world. Similarly, probably we might have like Kantian categories of space and time. Did we wear such kind of glasses, spectacles called gendered language, gendered conceptions? Not just language words, but also conceptions, concepts that I'm talking about. So this is another important aspect which is getting into epistemology. And the third one is very important in the sense that ontology. How do we relate ourselves to the other? Whether we have seen, whether we conceptualized women to be other, or did we conceptualize when we understand the self? Did we give sufficient space for all the other genders as well? Is the problem of ontology that we have to deal with. Similarly, we can also talk about ethics and many other aspects of philosophical enterprise that we have. So these two are very important for us to decide what kind of path that we are taking. And I have attended some of the talks, and I understood that both aspects were properly taken care of in the course of the discussions. I'm so happy about that. And I'm very sure that the remaining lectures also would be trying to deal with both these conceptions, which are very important and which try to give a comprehensive account of what we are trying to do at the end of the day. So that is how I appreciate the organizers in selecting the speakers even, and so that we were getting a comprehensive account of how we should look at it. So having said that, my concern today is, the title, Feminism and all. I thought maybe if I do that, on the first day, I was mentioning this very important aspect because I strongly believe that epistemology is very important, and how each one of us construct our epistemology is very important and crucial in our lives, not just in philosophical enterprise or academic enterprise, but also in our lives that we lead. Okay, so that's how I would argue, saying that your epistemology determines your metaphysics, which means your worldview, and your worldview is the one which determines which influences largely how you react and act in the world, deal with the other. So this is where I spoke about this binary conception. You know? I just mentioned about that, but I did not elaborate on that. I thought I would do it during my lecture. So what is this binary conception that I am talking about? We talk about binary epistemology, which means we are told there is a totality of the world that is available, that is there. Okay, whether it is available or not is again a different kind of question for the phenomenologists. So I don't want to get into that. There is a world around us, and binary epistemology basically tells us that the totality of the world can be divided into, or can be understood in terms of opposites. Okay, it says the whole world is divided into opposites. So if you want to understand one concept, you have to look for the opposites so that you can understand it very clearly. So which means there is a clear-cut division between two sets of things. Okay, and these two sets, okay, it's not just there are two sets. These two sets are also opposites. Okay, that is the binary conception. And also, if you go deep into binary epistemology, there is another layer which is very ambiguous and which is really disturbing to me. So I thought I should share this with you. If you go into this binary epistemology, what it tells you is if you want to understand a concept A, you have to look for the concept. In order to understand concept A, what you have to do is you have to identify its opposite, say minus A or B, and you can understand the concept A only as the opposite of B. Okay, in the sense that only in terms of absence of B you can understand the concept A. Okay, that is the major thing. So which means as I have given you the examples, like we look at male and female to be opposites. This is what we teach in our schools even, unfortunately, saying that what is the opposite of boy? We tell them that it is girl. That's a dangerous kind of phenomena. So in fact, this binary epistemology tells us that if you want to understand man, I mean boy, then you have to look at the opposite of it, like girl, and man would be understood to be opposite of girl, or absence of girl, okay, girlness or whatever. And similarly, this is understood as the absence of the opposite, the other. So this kind of conception, in fact, doesn't give any complete comprehensive understanding of each one of the concepts, because it leaves the mind of the kids in ambiguity. And this ambiguity is the one which creates a kind of rupture in the minds of the people. And the second important aspect or consequence, hard consequence that we would face because of this binary epistemology is, once you say that the other is opposite, if you consider yourself to be, or if you consider me to be your opponent, then what kind of dispositions, mental dispositions as well as physical dispositions that you would get, you're very sure about that, you're very clear about that. So once we start nurturing the young mind, saying that the other is the opposite, girl is your opposite or boy is your opposite, obviously the kind of antagonism that would be automatically built into the mind of the people, the young minds of the kids, would be very dangerous. Today, I was quite upset to read one news item that I have. Usually, I don't watch news. I try to avoid news and in Uttar Pradesh somewhere, and then unfortunately she was also last rites of her were immediately to hush up whatever, right? Do you find any network issue with my presentation? Okay.
Yes, sir. Your voice is breaking.
Let me.
This is a network issue.
Yeah, I'm just trying to change.
Yes. There are network issues where Your voice is breaking.
Just 1 minute. Yeah, now tell me whether it is fine. Is that okay now?
Yes, yes, it's better, sir.
Yeah, it would be better now. Right. Thank you. So what I was trying to argue here is basically, yeah, the incident itself is quite unfortunate. What happened in UP recently, a woman was raped and murdered, and then finally her last rites were performed without informing the people and without allowing the body to be taken to the village, kind of things. This incident itself is inhuman, and it disturbs each one of us. And I would say, see, the way people started learning to look at the world is the major problem. That's where we have to do corrections. That's why education is so important to each one of us. Unless you teach in a proper way to understand and to look at the world in a particular perspective, okay, which is not binary in its conception, it would be really difficult for us to nurture the future generations in a to live in a harmonious and non-violent way, deal with each other in a non-violent way. Otherwise, we would be nurturing, we would be teaching them this kind of unfortunate rupture in their mind, which is very important for each one of us. That's what I'm actually concerned with. In fact, Helen Sizu argues in this way. Helen Sizu, one of the feminist writers of the recent past, she has strongly argued against this binary conception of binary epistemology, basically. Okay, so there is a need to break this epistemology that we have been building, and we are continuing to build. So I sincerely feel that the textbooks that we are writing have to become have to use different kind of language, different kind of conceptions of looking at the world, so that, because they are the ones, especially the language textbooks and even the this subject specific textbooks use gender biased language, which is to be dealt with in a proper way. Okay, so this binary epistemology is to be completely controlled, and it should be, if it is possible, that we should break with such kind of conception, epistemology, and we should start teaching complementary, interrelated, integrated, holistic conception of life and world. Okay, as I said, if you look at Indian conception, I'm just giving an example. Okay, I'm not trying to eulogize Indian perspectives, but I would give you one example of that. If you look at, usually we consider fire and water to be opposites, etc. Right? But if you look at Indian tradition, it says all these 5 elements that we have: earth, water, fire, air, and akasha. All of them are elements, and these basic elements are required. All of them are complementary as well. Unless they come together, nothing new can be produced. Similarly, even if you look at masculinity and femininity, unless both of them come together, if both of them are understood to be complementary, and unless both of them come together, nothing new that can come into existence. So the complementarity is something that is stressed in Indian tradition, and I think our textbooks, our education system has to take this into consideration and try to nurture the minds of the people. So that's one thing that I thought initially I would talk about, and then let me move ahead to what do I mean by feminism and feminism. So all of us know that we have feminisms, right? We now in this contemporary world, at least sitting here now, okay, you can never say there is only one feminism. But what is required is, as I said initially, if you're trying to understand the place of women in philosophy, then what is required is having a look at history of ideas. You have to have a look at the history of ideas so that you can have a better conception of what has happened in the past, because this is what I was stressing. Stock taking is very important. Stock taking of what has happened in the past is important for us, so that we would understand our present condition, present status, and also we can plan and we can think of articulating our future aspirations. So for this purpose, what is required is a kind of stock taking and looking at history of ideas. All of us agree that lived experiences are very important. And if we are looking at lived experiences, as I have mentioned, become a part of like lived experiences get constituted out of your metaphysics and your epistemology, the way you start looking at the world, and each one of these philosophical conceptions that we look at, right? Each one of them contribute positively to our lived experiences. Whether you're conscious or whether you're unconscious, it doesn't matter. But lived experiences are the ones which, these metaphysics and epistemology, the conceptions that you have are very important, which construct your lived experiences. If that is the case, let me begin with this kind of a one. Like, if you look at history of ideas, there is an interesting kind of movement that is underlyingly visible. No? Unless you open your eyes and try to closely, carefully look at them, you will not be. I'm not audible. I hope I'm audible, right?
Yes, you are audible, sir. You are audible.
Right. So, if you look at the history of ideas, there is a very interesting transition, interesting movement that I try to decipher. It is a kind of a thought experiment that I'm doing. I may be wrong. So, you can analyze it and let me know your responses to this. Okay, it's an experiment that I'm trying to do. So, basically, if you look at history of ideas, what happens is, every time, initially, when people try to conceptualize the world, conceptualize themselves as well as conceptualize the other, what happened was they have constructed a kind of abstract universals. Okay, for example, even if I have to talk about language, when you say language, for me it is an abstract universal. This abstract universal is required, but this abstract universal is empty. Okay. Why do I say this is empty? Because it doesn't have any content at all. It only tries to provide a vague space. Okay, it is an abstract universal, which is an empty space, which doesn't have any content at all. May I request Mamta Verma ji to mute herself? Yeah, thank you. So this abstract universal, okay, that's how we begin. Even when I'm saying, even when you say feminism, or for that matter, women or women as a category, in general, if you start talking about them, what you're trying to do is you're talking in terms of abstract universal. For instance, when Aristotle and Plato spoke about men, they were using the concept men as an abstract universal, because it doesn't refer to anybody specific, and at the same time it doesn't it claims itself to be a universal kind of one. It says no, nobody is there is no exception at all. It includes everyone under its purview. But in fact, even if you look at Aristotle and Plato, they have excluded from the domain of men slaves as well as women. So what I'm trying to say is, when this initially when the conception of abstract universal is constructed, whether it is of man or a woman or whatever it may be, right? These were conceived only in terms of empty ones, in the sense that they claimed themselves to be inclusive. In fact, they claimed themselves to be over-inclusive. They say that everything is a part of it. So the word man, they say even women are included in it, or everybody under the sky is included in it, every human being. But actually, it doesn't seem to be so. So this is the first one. That is how the conceptual history of ideas has developed. Even if you take the conception of justice, okay, you can a conception of equality, any concept you can take. Initially, it was an abstract universal, which is an empty one, and then there is a movement. Okay, there is a movement towards universal particular. So this abstract universal was contested. Okay, for instance, in feminism, it was contested, saying that it is masculine. In fact, it is not even masculine. Okay, when they have contested this abstract universal, that is not even masculine, because it did not give a representation to even men completely. Okay, so such kind of a partial or empty abstract universal that was. And then the movement has then there is a shift from abstract universal to universal particular. Okay, for instance, when we talk about if I use the analogy of language, then Hindi is for me universal particular. Okay, it is universal, but universal of a particular. For example, if you use the word French feminism, okay, French feminism basically is the term which is universal particular to me. It is a universal, but it is a universal of a particular. So there is a shift from feminism to universal feminism. Okay, people contested the abstract universal, and they said, see, you haven't given a representation or space to the particularity. So that is how particularity is very important. But even if the particularity is stressed, there is a universal, particular universality which is constructed, and again, this particular universal also claims itself to be universal. That is the problem. Okay, so there is that's how I would say it is not an empty one completely, but it has some form. Still, it retains its emptiness. Okay, it's not completely empty in the sense that it creates a kind of form, but still it remains to be empty. And then the other third one in the process, particular universal. Okay, so I said abstract universal and universal particular, and now I have come to the third one, particular universal. This one is universal, but it is a universal of universal attributed to a particular. Okay, so there is a difference between universal particular and particular universal, which is very important for all of us to understand. When I say particular universal, what I mean is, for example, if I use the analogy of language, language and Hindi, and then its dialect. Okay, we are still coming to a specificity. Okay, so universal particular has some form of specificity, and if you come down to the third one, particular universal is more specific. Okay, for instance, it is a dialect. So there is an assertion on the part of the dialects which try to say that, yeah, you are not giving sufficient space to us, and such kind of assertion has come in feminism as well. When French feminism was contested by other feminism, saying that when you are trying to articulate lived experiences of women in general, no, you are only talking about the lived experiences of your own self, your own French people. You are not talking about all of us, right? So this kind of a rejection of a universal particular by particular universal is very important, and this is the next shift that we have come across in feminism, in terms of looking at the binaries and trying to articulate alternative feminisms, in the sense that on the basis of color, on the basis of region, on the basis of colonial, post-colonial consciousness, on the basis of ethnicity, all these assertions have come up. Okay, they said, see, when you are talking about the problems of women, you are only limiting yourself to your own conceptions, but still you're trying to argue that you're talking about everyone. Okay, and you try to say as though you're extending and you're inclusive of everybody else as well. So this is how French feminism was contested by various other feminist thinkers as well. For instance, if you have have a look at this Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak, who argues that French feminism is the article that she has written is French feminism in an international framework, where she tries to criticize French feminism, and then the work that she brings out, like, can subalterns speak? Like, see, we should also speak for ourselves, right? So she has contested this understanding. So this is very important. The move from universal particular to particular universal is very important in the process of history of ideas. And this is how, see, basically what I'm trying to tell you is, there is a process of diversification of feminisms in each one of these steps that you see. And there is a continuity of particularization of the lived experiences to concrete levels. Every attempt is to concretize more. Every attempt is to liberate from the universal. No, we think that through universal we liberate, but the movement, if you look at the feminist movement, every concretization, every particularization is a liberation for them. So this is a very important aspect in the history of ideas of feminism that we have to carefully understand. And then comes the last one, concrete particulars. Okay, concrete particulars. So there is a movement from particular universals to concrete particulars, where the subjectivity is stressed, subjectivity of the individual is stressed, and that is how there is a move from concreteness of the particularities. And this concreteness of the particularities is the one that has given rise to LGBT rights, and also to Dalit feminist perspectives, okay, and then other minority perspectives, and also immigrant minority perspectives. All these have become part of this concrete particulars. Even, okay, so there is a move from abstract universal to universal particular, and from universal particular to particular universal, and then you come to concrete particular, and this is where now the discourse is situated. So that is how the whole discourse of feminism is so diversified in the history of ideas, and there is a continuous movement which is very important to be noted. Now, if you look at these shifts that I have mentioned so far, okay, there are certain interesting things that come up. Okay, so in this movement that I have mentioned from in these 4 stages, one of the very interesting things is all of them have questioned the universalization of the lived experiences that the previous one has stressed. Okay, for example, when people said the feminism, and then men spoke about them, so they said, no, you need not talk about us. And French feminism came and it started articulating the experiences of the self, and that's how you have Wollstonecraft and Simone de Beauvoir, others coming forward and trying to write. Okay, and in the process, what happened is they contested the domain, masculinity, saying that you haven't given any space to us at all, right? So your claim that your conception is universal is not well founded, is the point that they have mentioned, and that there is how they have contested the patriarchal masculinist conceptions of the world. Okay, now that is how French feminism has a very important space. Now you come to the next stage, when the post-colonial consciousness has come up, post-colonial feminism has come up. They said, who are you? They articulated the same question, and they have targeted they argued against French feminism from the very same standpoint. Okay, they said you are trying to universalize your own experience, and where are we in whatever you say we? Okay, so that is how the feminist conception of French scholars were contested by post-colonial scholars like Gayatri Spivak, etc., that I have mentioned. Even African feminism contests this view of Eurocentric feminism, not giving sufficient space to them. So what I'm trying to say is that the similar kind of criticism that French feminism has levied against the masculinist conceptions of universalized subjectivity, similar kind of criticism they also have to face from post-colonial thinkers. And going further, for instance, Dalit feminism, etc., they argue in the same way, saying that you say that you are representing all the post-colonial conceptions of feminism, but where are we in your conception of women? So this is another important one where the same question is raised against the universalization. Okay, so that is how, and then it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop even with the concrete particulars experience. It goes further. Okay, I will talk about it a little later. So this, what is questioned from the beginning till the end is the same. So that is a very important point that is to be noted. And at every step, what is being stressed is you cannot reach my subjectivity. So when women started arguing against this patriarchal or masculinist conception, They have argued saying that you cannot reach my subjectivity, and that is how French feminism, most of the French scholars argue strongly, saying that you cannot reach my subjectivity. And now, if you look at post-colonial consciousness, they also argued the same thing with French feminism, saying that you cannot reach my subjectivity. My subjectivity is different, and you cannot universalize or generalize your conception of subjectivity to be the totality under which we are already included. So we are not included. In fact, we are excluded. And if you look at Dalit feminism, similar kind of criticism is levied against post-colonial feminism, conceptions of feminism, where they said you're talking, you're saying that the subjectivity that you have constructed includes everybody, but in fact you can never reach my subjectivity. So this is how the particularities and the stress on subjectivity are very important, and these are the ones which were continuously contested whenever there is an attempt to universalize the experience or universalize the conception of feminism. The third important point is at each one of these levels, stereotypes were rejected. Okay, what I mean to say is even French feminism, while contesting the stereotype, has contested the stereotypes of that were constructed by the masculine epistemology. Okay, and probably it also has constructed certain stereotypes which were rejected later on by post-colonial feminists. Okay, and probably even these post-colonial feminists have given rise to certain stereotypes which were further rejected by Dalit feminism, etc. Okay, so what I mean to say is even further, you can go still further and say that, yeah, LGBT activists deconstruct and reject the stereotypes that were constructed by their own previous broader umbrella. So this is how there is a continuous contestation of stereotypes, which is very important in the process of the development of history of ideas that I have mentioned in 4 steps. And another fourth important point here is equality. At every stage, each one of them have claimed themselves to be trying to be equal. Okay, so the concept of equality has such a drastic transformation at every point of time. You look at Aristotle, ancient Greek times, the concept of equality is different there. And then come to the medieval times, Aquinas and others, the conception of equality is different, and who is included and who is excluded is always a problematic thing. And then come to the modern period with Descartes and others. Even there you would find a kind of discrimination with regard to the equality of everyone. Okay, so but at every stage there is a kind of shift in the conception as well as the meaning as well as what it refers to, the referring point in the history of ideas. And that is how equality, French feminists, of course, they have said we consider everybody to be equal. And then there are other scholars who have come forward and argued that no, you haven't given, you have discriminated. In fact, I don't exactly remember, but one feminist scholar has argued saying that when you come to when you look at a dark-skinned person, then you discriminate. So this discrimination continued for a long time in different levels. So the universal that we are talking about and the equality that we talked about in each one of these feminisms is again like has to be understood in a bracketed space. No, that's what I would say. So this terrain of equality is always terrain of inequality. The claims of equality are always claims of inequality as well, which is inherently embedded in their claims. So that's how the diversity of the feminist discourse terrain is very important. It is not homogeneous. It is definitely a kind of heterogeneous terrain that we have to look at. Then there is a kind of different kind of conceptual analysis that it requires, which I would like to mention here in this context. Like if you look at history of ideas, at every point of time, particulars always try to contest the universals. Okay, particulars always try to contest the universals, and this is what you would find continuously if you look at the history of ideas. But unfortunately, whenever particulars contested the universals, okay, particulars contested the universals, and later on, what happened was, unfortunately, these particulars themselves have become universals, different kind of universals, and this created a problem. Okay, so I hope from the previous analysis you would understand what I'm trying to convey. No? Say, for example, the feminists have come forward and argued against the discrimination in terms of that was encouraged by masculinist epistemology. Okay, but then when initially people have argued, they also have constructed a universal. Their particularity, through their particularity, they have contested it, and in the process, they also have constructed their own universality, which was further contested by somebody else. Okay, so the process of universality is very important, and particulars always try to construct their own universals. This led to the diversity of the domain. Okay, so these particulars themselves are becoming universals, and that is how it led to diversity. It's not that particular universals. There were many particular universals which have come into existence, and that is how they started contesting each other, and the domain has become very diverse. So this led to the diversity of the domain with contestations of concrete particulars attacking the particular universals. So this process of history of ideas is very important, and this is what in fact tells us that if you look at philosophically, there is no one feminism, and the feminism we only have feminisms, plurality of conceptions of feminism, and that is how, as I think who I forgot the name, but one popular feminist thinker argues, saying that you cannot give one essentialistic definition of feminism. Okay, there is no one definition of feminism that would suffice and that would include everything, all other sorts of feminism. So that this is very important for us to have a look at. So that's how we have French feminism, American feminism, etc. And then we have colonial and post-colonial feminism, where African feminism, Indian feminism, Hindu feminism, whatever comes into existence. And then you also have LGBT, etc. coming up, and also feminism in terms of difference in the sense that Dalit feminism, cultural minorities, immigrant minorities feminism, all these diversities of feminisms are coming into existence. What is happening here is there is another trajectory that I want to build, but I think yeah, I should try to limit myself, because there is another very interesting trajectory. I will briefly talk about it and go to the next one. There is always in the process of understanding the world, we always try to construct a kind of ideal kind of one. Okay, so this ideal is always again contested. It's not just the universal which is contested. Ideal is also contested, because ideal somehow has some form of normativity included in that. That is how ideal is always contested by the real. Okay, so but I would say when ideal was contested by the real, this real also tries to become a universal real. So, and then it was further contested by another real, which would be a particular real, and that is how it comes down to concrete real until it reaches the concrete real. Now, if you look at if you look at epistemology, existent epistemology and metaphysics, metaphysical conceptions, now we have reached the stage of concrete reals, and we started rearticulating the universals again. And that is how, if you look at Martha Nussbaum, in her cultural universals, she stresses the importance of universals again. She argues for the importance of universals. So yeah, this is the first part of my talk, where I thought I should provide the conceptual analysis of various feminisms that are existent, and then in the second part, I hope I have 15 to 20 more minutes, right? Do I have at least 20 minutes? Dr. Ritu?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
You have
I'll
for
take
the 10 to 15 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take 15 minutes so that you can
Okay.
also take the labor of translating whatever I'm going to
Okay.
say.
We'll take
Yeah,
20 minutes here, 10 to
Okay.
15.
yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. So in the second part of my talk, I thought I would concentrate on, see, in general, if you look at the perception of feminism, in general, you seem to be very antagonistic kind of one. If you say somebody is a feminist, these days people try to be careful with such kind of like similar kind of one that we have towards philosophy. If you say I'm a philosopher, people try to stay away from us, right? Similarly, if you say feminist, then there is a kind of rupture that you find in their understanding. But in fact, if you look at feminist writings, I see. I'm not a specialist in feminism. I don't argue myself, or I don't place myself to be an expert in feminist philosophy. But I do read feminist writings, and I really enjoy doing that because there are certain wonderful thoughts that feminist thinkers have provided us, which would make our lives very simple and very easy and very happy. Okay, because at the end of the day, everybody, whether he is a feminist or a male chauvinist, right? What is it that he or she would look for? It is happy life, right? And everybody wants to have a happy life for them. And one thing that fortunately this COVID-19 has taught us is you can never be happy all alone. If you want to be healthy, you have to see to it that your surroundings are also healthy. Otherwise, you can never be healthy. This is what COVID-19 has taught us. In fact, this very lesson people try to teach us for so many generations, saying that if you want to be happy, you keep everybody around you happy, right? So that is how there are wonderful thoughts that feminist thinkers have given. I thought I would mention 3 or 4 of them so that we would, at the end of the day, when we go home, we can say that, yeah, these are the thoughts that I should try to cultivate. I should try to nurture within me. Now, as I was mentioning about this binary, avoiding binary kind of a conception. So, in this regard, first I would take Ivan Illich for the discussion. Ivan Illich is a wonderful scholar, and he gives a very interesting kind of feminist conception. Okay, and my readings are very limited. He wrote a work called Vernacular Gender. Okay, he talks about vernacular gender. Very interesting work, and I think each one of you should, if you are interested in feminism, then you should read. You should begin with vernacular gender of Ivan Illich. So, what is it that he states? What is the idea that we can take from him, which we can nurture further in our lives? Okay, one thing is he says it is complementarity. Gender is always complementary. Okay, if yeah, all of us know that. He need not tell us, right? We think that we know about it. Why should he repeat it? He says this complementarity is somehow become ambiguous. Okay, we forgot, or we somehow developed a kind of ambiguity towards this complementarity, and the way he explains it is very very interesting and important. He talks about hands, right and left. Okay, so which one do you think is more stronger and which one is weak? Which one you prefer? Which one you don't prefer? I don't mean to cut your hand, but what I mean is, if there is an activity that you have to perform, which one do you use first? Okay, so he says both the hands are basically complementary to each other. Okay, they substitute each other. If right hand is trying to do something, it cannot do that, and left hand comes in support of it. And if left hand is not being able to do something, handle something, then right hand comes and tries to support it. But both of them are different as well, right? So he says one needs the other. Right hand needs the left, and left hand needs the other. And independently, individually, also they can do certain kind of functions. Whenever they have to perform together, they have to come together. And no one is complete. No, you cannot say this hand is complete. It is complete in the sense that it is one particular part completely. But if you have to perform something, the help of the other is required all the time. And he then says, sorry. So he says a neurological preponderance that manifests itself in greater sensibility, strength, or aptitude has been turned into the ideal of right dominance. But if you look at it, if somebody, if a kid is trying to use the left hand, then you forcefully try to convert him into right-handed person, right? So why is it that we give lesser importance to left hand compared to the right hand, right? So this is how we think that left has become adaptive to the right. Okay, so left has become adaptive to the right. So you try to work with the right, and if there is a help that is required, only then it comes. So that is how it tries to play a secondary role that we unfortunately understand it to be. Okay, as it's ever needed, cherished assistant. Okay, the left is always ever needed and cherished assistant, and right is the one which takes the lead and tries to perform things. So that is how he tries to extend this analogy to male-female domain as well. And he says female sex is socio-biologically male adaptive. Unfortunately, it has so become that male, like left hand, uh, both are required, right? Male, like left hand, has become adaptive of the right hand. Okay, so he talks about it and he explains it and he also elaborates on how it is wrong. See, I'm just trying to give this biological, organic conception of the worldview that we ourselves have. And if you start explaining such kind of things to the kids, I would always stress the kids and students, because they are the ones who are going to build the nation tomorrow. If you explain them this way clearly, tell them that both are required and both are complementary, then I think things will really have a positive impact, at least for the future generations. Okay, so this is one important insight that I would take from Ivan Illich. The second important insight that I would take is from Judith Butler. Okay, Judith Butler, in fact, all of you, my previous speakers might have spoken about this distinction between sex and gender, and saying that sex is basically biological and gender is a social construct, etc., etc. But you go to Judith Butler, she says she rejects this distinction completely. She says both sex and gender are states of mind. Okay, they are different states. That's all. Okay, and they cannot be attributed or they cannot be understood in terms of biological differences. Okay, so this is what she outrightly rejects this sex gender distinction. That see, this is what I'm saying. Somebody comes forward and says, no, this is how you have to understand, and they construct a framework for us. And somebody else comes forward and says, no, even this distinction that the framework that you have created is also wrongly footed. So Judith Butler clearly rejects such kind of conception or distinction between sex and gender, and she says both are states, cannot be attributed to physicalities. Okay, and then what she argues is very important for each one of us. She argues that gender is performative. Okay, she argues for the performative gender. We heard about the performative utterances of J.L. Austin, right? Similarly, such kind of a revolutionary work that she comes out with, in which she argues that gender is basically performative. When you're acting, when you're performing an act, then the gender comes into picture. It is not that you have essentially a particular gender inside you. And when she says, when you perform a particular act, you automatically become feminine or masculine. If there is something that has happened to a small kid or a puppy, a dog, then you your emotions pour up, and then you go to the person and try to help. And similarly, if somebody is attacking you, whether you call yourself girl or boy, but you would try to attack the other and try to protect yourself. So she says gender is basically performative, okay? And there is a kind of gender fluidity that she subscribes to, which is very important. And each one of us have both the genders within us, and they are there is a kind of fluid state of genderness that each one of us have, and gender is free floating as per the demands of the situation. As we wear our shirts and clothes, similarly, we would be wearing the gender as well. So what I mean to say is, if you start teaching the kids this way, do you expect any kind of rupture that can come into their minds in terms of the distinction between male and female, or whatever things that we are unfortunately constructing in the minds of the younger ones? So this is another very important aspect that I feel all of us should teach our students. No, take it to the classroom and teach them. Tell them that this is very important, that you have to know with regard to the understanding of or complementarity of male and female. The third important aspect, with this I would stop. Third important aspect that I have, that I want to talk about, is Liu Sirigari. Liu Sirigari is a wonderful scholar. You should read her work. And she talks about two important concepts. Okay, one is enveloping. Okay, she says we think that the male world envelopes the female. Okay, which means what will happen if somebody is enveloped? They don't have freedom. The one who is enveloped and who is inside will not have freedom, and also they will not have any independence. Okay, and the one who envelopes would subsume somebody whom he has or she has enveloped completely, which means there is no space at all, there is no freedom at all, there is no independence at all. So such is the conception of the world that we have around us, she says. She gives a solution. This solution is very important, and I feel in all the human relations, especially in the marital relations, the point that Liu Sirigari provides to individuals is very important, and something that is to be noted. She says she talks about the concept of wonder. We wonder about things around us. How did this happen? The surprise element in the life is very important. And she says in the male-female relations, if they miss the conception of surprise or wonder, okay, trying to know more about the other and retaining the wonder within themselves and retaining the epistemology of wonder and trying to know the other, if this remains intact, then the relations would become stronger and stronger, she says. Okay, really, when I was reading this aspect of her work, I thought, we tend to miss this concept of wonder in each other. And if we start nurturing this concept of wonder in each other, then the human relations will never be at stake, will never be antagonistic. They provide space for our creativity. They provide space for harmony. They provide space for lessening the violence. She says, in fact, wonder, the loss of wonder is the one which led to greed, possession, consummation, disgust, and so on between the people, she says, between the genders. Okay, and she argues for nurturing this conception of wonder in the epistemology of the individuals, so that, see, once you take it for granted, saying that this is how it is going to be there, then there is no chance for any wonder or creativity. Once you start thinking that no, there is scope for so much to happen, and in fact, I don't know so many things that exist which I don't know, then there is a chance, there is a opening, there is a kind of exercise of freedom on the part of the individual to look at the world and wonder about that and try to be more interactive and more fruitful and more harmonious with the world. So this is another important, interesting element that I see in the writings of the feminist scholars, which is very important and which is required for everyone, no, not just for feminist discourse. It can be taken up beyond the feminist discourse and attributed and elaborated and discussed by each one of us. So these are the important thoughts that I thought I should share with you. To conclude, I would argue that the epistemology is very important, and the way you create your conceptions through epistemological means is very important, and that is where we have to pay more stress, more concentration, so that if at all we are concerned about the rupture, the violence that is happening around us, basically whether you are doing philosophy or activism, whether you're an academic feminist or an activist, what is important for all of us is our concern is for happy and harmonious life, happy and good life. And if we are looking for that, our epistemology is the way we teach, the way we learn is very important. That's where we have to pay more stress and concentration. And then the move in the history of ideas is very important to each one of us. That's where we have to concentrate and try to understand feminism in terms of feminisms as universals to particulars, in terms of abstract universals to concrete particulars. So this move is very important, and which is to be which is to be focusedly understood. And the other important aspect that I tried to stress during my brief talk is positivities are to be nurtured. No, as I said, the complementarity of both the sexes in terms of right and left hands, and then in terms of performativeness of the gender, and also in terms of nurturing of the wonder. These are very important concepts. These positivities are to be nurtured. No, when you teach feminism, it is not that you should teach feminism only in terms of how feminism attacks the patriarchal setups, etc., etc. This is required. No, this is a factual one, and this is required. But along with the awareness of this, what is also required is what are the positive tools that we can imbibe in the individual so that they can change their perspective towards the other. So that is where these positive aspects that they have come up with are to be brought out and placed on a platform where they can be given to this younger minds so that they can develop their epistemology in a better way. And obviously, I would argue that feminisms are to be nurtured, not just one feminism. And women, as it was stated by one of the speakers previously, women is not a monolithic universal. We should not understand women to be that way. So that's what I have to say today. Thank you so much to all of you for your patience in listening to me. I also thank the organizers for this opportunity. I request Ritu if she can sum up in Hindi whatever I have said.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Yeah, Archana ma'am, do you want to say something?
Wonderful explanation, Ritu. Wonderful lecture.
Wow. Yes. we are quite aware of that because I have attended so many lectures of sir. So
really, very informative and wonderful lecture.
So now I'm going to elaborate it in Hindi. मैं हिंदी में थोड़ा बताना चाहूंगी कि सर ने क्या कहा. ज्यादा टाइम तो नहीं है, तो सर ने जो बात की है वो उसमें एक सबसे महत्वपूर्ण बात ये है कि हमें अपनी एपिस्टेमोलॉजी यानी ज्ञान मीमांसा और ऑन्टोलॉजी यानी सत्ता मीमांसा, तत्व मीमांसा जो है, नहीं सॉरी सत्ता मीमांसा और एथिक्स नीति शास्त्र के स्तर पर हमें देखना होगा कि आखिरकार हम किस तरीके से जेंडर को प्लेस करते हैं, किस तरीके से हम लिंग को देखते हैं. क्योंकि जब भी हम ज्ञान की बात करते हैं तो हम किसी न किसी एक लेंस के थ्रू किसी हर चीज को देखते हैं, और वो लेंस अपने आप में जेंडर्ड होता है क्योंकि हम लोग एक पेट्रियार्कल सेटअप में या फिर हम लोग एक पर्टिकुलर सेटअप में है. लेकिन अगर हमने उसको पहले ही जेंडर्ड बना लिया तो इसका मतलब है कि हम उस जेंडर के पर्सपेक्टिव से उससे बाहर निकलकर कभी भी नहीं देख पाएंगे. और
ऐसे में ये सत्ता में सी प्रश्न जो है वो ज्यादा महत्वपूर्ण हो जाएगा कि क्या हम सभी जेंडर्स को, सभी लिंगों को समान रूप से स्पेस दे रहे हैं अपने समाज में। तो ऐसे ही कुछ प्रश्न नीति शास्त्र के क्षेत्र में भी उठेंगे, जहाँ पे हमने नियामकता की बात की है और जहाँ पे हम कई तरीके की शुभ और अशुभ की चर्चा करते हैं। तो क्या हम सभी लिंगों को उस आधार पे सही तरीके से जज करने की कोशिश करते हैं, या फिर वो बहुत ही एक जेंडर्ड पर्सपेक्टिव है और हम उस जेंडर्ड पर्सपेक्टिव से बाहर नहीं निकल पाते। तो जब इसको हम इसके बारे में डिस्कशन करते हैं तो हमें पता चलता है कि जो हमारी एपिस्टेमोलॉजी यानी ज्ञान मीमांसा है वो बाइनरस है। बाइनरस होने का मतलब है कि वो हमेशा पक्षों को दो भागों में विभाजित कर देती है, और जो वर्ल्ड है उसको हम हमेशा विरोधों के टर्म्स में देखते हैं। उसका डिवीजन हमेशा दो विपरीत तरीके की चीजों में कर देते हैं। जैसे कि हमें, अगर सर ने एग्जांपल दिया कि अगर हमें मेल को समझना है तो हम सोचते हैं कि मेल का ऑपोजिट कौन है, तो फीमेल है। बॉय का ऑपोजिट कौन है, तो गर्ल है। तो स्कूल के लेवल से ही ये जो शिक्षा दी जाती है वो हमारे पूरे की पूरी जो अंडरस्टैंडिंग है वो उसको बिगाड़ देती है। एक तरीके से बिगाड़ने का मतलब ये है कि उसको इस तरीके से प्रभावित करती है कि हम उससे बाहर निकलकर चीजों को नहीं देख पाते हैं। और जब तक इस तरीके की एक बाइनरी चलती रहेगी हमारे दिमाग में, तो हम हमेशा ही कोशिश करेंगे उस बाइनरी के हिसाब से ही चीजों को देखने की, और उससे बाहर नहीं निकल पाएंगे। जबकि वास्तविकता ये है, जिसको हम वास्तविकता एक एक पक्ष से ही कह सकते हैं कि ये जो वास्तविकता ये है कि आप किसी भी जेंडर को कम या ज्यादा आंक नहीं सकते। और अगर हम इसको कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री फॉर्म में देखें, एक पूरक के रूप में देखें, एक उसकी संपूर्णता में देखें, उसको एकाग्रित करके देखें, तो हमें पता चलेगा कि हर एक जो जेंडर है वो एक दूसरे का पूरक है, एक दूसरे का विपरीत नहीं है। और इसका जो एग्जाम्पल सर ने दिया कि यूपी में अगर हम रेप इंसिडेंट को देखें, तो और भी जो रेप केसेस होते हैं वो इसलिए होते हैं क्योंकि हमने हमेशा ये ऑपोजिट्स के फॉर्म में देखने की कोशिश की है, विपरीत के फॉर्म में देखने की कोशिश की है, जिसमें हम मेल को कहीं ना कहीं शक्तिशाली मानने लगते हैं और फीमेल को हम बहुत ही निर्बल मानने लगते हैं। और इस तरीके की अंडरस्टैंडिंग हमें हमें एक प्रॉब्लमेटिक वर्ल्ड व्यू देता है उसका वर्ल्ड का। इन तीन पार्ट्स के बारे में, इन तीन भागों के बारे में बात करने के बाद सर ने बताया है कि जो फेमिनिज्म है, नारीवाद है, उसका कोई एक रूप नहीं हो सकता। क्योंकि अगर हम जो विचारों का इतिहास है, अगर उसके ऊपर एक नजर डालें तो हमें ये समझ में आता है कि जो हमारा प्रेजेंट सिचुएशन है वो कहीं ना कहीं वहां से चल कर आ रहा है। और कहीं पे भी हमें एक जगह रुक जाने वाली तकनीक नहीं अपनानी चाहिए कि हम किसी एक एक्सपीरियंस को ज्यादा बेहतर मानकर, ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट मानकर, एक लिव्ड एक्सपीरियंस जो होता है, जो हम जिस तरीके से अपने जीवन को जीते हैं, उसको हम ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट मान लें, और बाकी सारे तरीके की जो लिव्ड एक्सपीरियंसेस हैं, जो हिस्ट्री में भी रह चुकी हैं या फिर प्रेजेंट में भी डिफरेंट डिफरेंट लेवल पे आती हैं, अलग अलग स्तरों पे आती हैं, हम उसको इग्नोर नहीं कर सकते, उसको हम पूरी तरीके से नकार नहीं सकते हैं। तो जो ये, अगर हम इस तरीके की ज्ञान मीमांसा और तत्व मीमांसा को अगर बनाएं, जिसमें हम प्लुरैलिटी जो है, प्लुरैलिटी यानी बहुलता, लिव्ड एक्सपीरियंस की बहुलता को अगर हम ध्यान में रखें, तो हमें समझ में आएगा कि किस तरीके से जो नारीवाद भी है उसमें भी ये बहुलता का पक्ष बहुत महत्वपूर्ण हो जाता है। क्योंकि जिस तरीके से जो विभिन्न थिंकर्स हैं, जो विभिन्न दार्शनिक हैं, अगर हम एरिस्टोटल की बात करें, कांट की बात करें, उन्होंने ऐसा किया कि उन्होंने जो मनुष्य की कैटेगरी थी उसको रिप्लेस कर दिया था पुरुष की कैटेगरी से। उन्होंने कहा कि पुरुष जब हम कहते हैं तो इसका मतलब है कि हम सब पूरे मानव जाति को का प्रतिनिधित्व कर रहे हैं। लेकिन एक्चुअल में ऐसा नहीं था, क्योंकि उसमें जब वो बात करते थे तो वो उसमें स्लेव्स की बात नहीं कर रहे होते थे, दासों की बात नहीं कर रहे होते थे, नारियों की बात नहीं कर रहे होते थे। इसका मतलब है कि जब उन्होंने पुरुष को एक अमूर्त सामान्य के रूप में यूज किया, तो उन्होंने उसी वक्त दासों को और नारियों को हटा दिया उसमें से। तो ये जो अमूर्त सामान्य है, उसकी प्रॉब्लम ये है कि वो एक कॉन्सेप्ट को, एक सिर्फ आइडिया को लेकर उसको सामान्य रूप में, एक यूनिवर्सल रूप में, सार्वभौमिक रूप में दिखाने की कोशिश करता है। और यही प्रॉब्लम रही है न्याय के कॉन्सेप्ट के साथ भी और समानता के कॉन्सेप्ट के साथ भी, कि हम एक जगह से एक आइडिया को निकालते हैं और सोचते हैं कि उसको सार्वभौमिक स्तर पे अप्लाई किया जा सकता है। तो इसको नेगेट करने के लिए सर ने बताया कि ये जो फेमिनिज्म है, नारीवादी पूरी अगर हम इतिहास को देखें तो उसने इस तरीके के अमूर्त सार्वभौमिकता को क्रिटिसाइज करने की कोशिश की, उसकी आलोचना करने की कोशिश की है, ताकि उसमें नारियों का प्रतिनिधित्व देखा जा सके। और ऐसे में फेमिनिज्म का डेवलपमेंट हुआ, उसका विकास हुआ, क्योंकि वो उस मेस्कुलिनिटी के अगेंस्ट जाना चाहते थे, उस जो पुरुषवादी जो सोच है उसके अगेंस्ट जाना चाहते थे। लेकिन इस क्रम में जब फ्रेंच नारीवाद आया तो उन्होंने भी एक तरीके के सार्वभौमिक पर्टिकुलर यानी सार्वभौमिक विशेष को जन्म दे दिया, क्योंकि उन्होंने जो फ्रांस की औरतें थी उनकी प्रॉब्लम को पूरे संसार की औरतों के ऊपर अप्लाई करने की कोशिश की। तो इस तरीके से उन्होंने एक सार्वभौमिक विशेष को जन्म दिया, जो कि अपने आप में कहीं ना कहीं एक कुछ स्तर पर एम्प्टी कॉन्सेप्ट हो गया, खाली कॉन्सेप्ट हो गया। फिर उन्होंने दूसरे तरीके के एक कॉन्सेप्ट की बात की, जिसमें उन्होंने बताया कि जो विशेष सार्वभौमिक है, तो पहला हमने देखा कि अमूर्त सार्वभौमिक था कॉन्सेप्ट, फिर उसके बाद दूसरा कॉन्सेप्ट है सार्वभौमिक विशेष का, और तीसरा है विशेष सार्वभौम का। तो इसमें क्या है कि इसमें हम ज्यादा से ज्यादा स्पेसिफिक होने की कोशिश करते हैं, यानी हम ज्यादा से ज्यादा विशेषत्व की तरफ जाने की कोशिश करते हैं, और हम बोलते हैं कि आप अपने नारीवादी कॉन्सेप्ट में हम जो दलित महिलाएं हैं, या फिर जो ब्लैक वुमन है, या फिर जो अलग तरीके की जैसे छोटे क्षेत्रों में रहने वाली वुमन है, आप उनको स्पेस नहीं दे रहे हो। आप तो कहीं ना कहीं एक फ्रांस की औरतें जो कि वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज को बिलोंग करती हैं, वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज में रहती है, उनके एक्सपीरियंसेस, उनके अनुभव को आप कहीं ना कहीं सार्वभौमिक स्तर पे लगाने की कोशिश कर रहे हो। तो इस तरीके से जो विशेष सार्वभौम का जो अप्रोच था, उसमें उन्होंने इस तरीके की प्रॉब्लम को रेज करने की कोशिश की, और उसी में ही हम देख सकते हैं कि कैसे सर ने स्पिवाक की बात को रखने की कोशिश की, और स्पिवाक ने फ्रेंच फेमिनिज्म को क्रिटिसाइज करते हुए कहा कि ये प्रश्न उठाया कि जो हाशिए पे रखे हुए लोग हैं, क्या वो खुद अपने आप के लिए बोल सकते हैं, क्या वो अपना रिप्रेजेंटेशन प्रतिनिधित्व तो खुद कर सकते हैं। तो ऐसे अगर हम देखें तो हम अगर इसको तोड़ते चले जाएं नारीवाद को, तो धीरे धीरे वो विभिन्न भागों में विभाजित होता जाएगा, और जैसे ही हम उसको विभाजित करते जाएंगे वैसे ही उसका एक तरीके से लिबरेशन होगा, उसका यूनिवर्सल फॉर्म से सार्वभौमिकता धीरे धीरे विशेषत्व में टूटती चली जाएगी, और अंत में हमें मिलेगा मूर्त विशेष। जो मूर्त विशेष है वो आकर एलजीबीटी कम्युनिटी जो है उनके राइट्स की बात करेगा, दलितों के राइट्स की बात करेगा, इमिग्रेंट्स के राइट्स की बात करेगा। तो ऐसे में हम देखते हैं कि पहले फ्रेंच फेमिनिज्म आया, फिर पोस्ट कॉलोनियल थ्योरी आई, जो कि उत्तर उपनिवेशकरण की थ्योरी कही जाती है। इसमें जो है हमने लगातार कोशिश की है कि जो स्टीरियोटाइप होता है, यानी हम किसी एक तरीके की मानसिकता को बनाने की कोशिश करते हैं, उसको लगातार तोड़ने की कोशिश की गई है। और इसी तरीके का अप्रोच हम न्याय के सिद्धांत में भी देखते हैं, और समानता के सिद्धांत में भी देखते हैं, क्योंकि जब न्याय और समानता के सिद्धांतों की भी बात की गई है, अगर हम अपने हिस्ट्री ऑफ आइडियाज की तरफ नजर डालें, तो जिस तरीके से एरिस्टोटल ने बात की, या फिर आधुनिक उसमें दर्शन में, पाश्चात्य दर्शन में डेकार्ट ने बात की, उन लोगों ने एक्चुअल में जब समानता की बात की तो वो भी एक सार्वभौमिक स्तर पे उसको लागू करने की कोशिश की है, जिसमें कि जो डिस्क्रिमिनेशन यानी उन्होंने एक तरीके का भेदभाव किया है, भेदभाव नजर आता है, क्योंकि हम कभी भी सब लोग एक जैसे नहीं हो सकते, हम अलग हैं, हमारे अंदर काफी वो है भेद है, एक दूसरे से विभिन्नता है। तो इस तरीके की हिस्ट्री ऑफ आइडियाज में देखने से हमें पता चलता है कि हमेशा जो है पर्टिकुलर ने, विशेष ने हमेशा सार्वभौमिकता को तोड़ने की कोशिश की है। और इसीलिए मतलब अंत में सर ने कहा कि अगर हम कुछ जो नारीवादी थिंकर्स हैं जैसे नुसबॉम है, उन्होंने मतलब कुछ नारीवादी थिंकर्स जो हैं वो हमेशा सार्वभौमिकता के अगेंस्ट जाने की कोशिश करते रहे, लेकिन उसके विपरीत अगर हम देखें तो मार्था नुसबॉम जो थिंकर है, फेमिनिस्ट थिंकर, उन्होंने कहा कि नहीं, अगर हम ऐसे ही तोड़ते चले जाएंगे तो हम कोई भी एक जो राइट्स हैं, जो अधिकार मिलने चाहिए नारी को ह्यूमन बीइंग होने के नाते, वो नहीं दे पाएंगे। और इसीलिए उन्होंने यूनिवर्सल्स को इम्पोर्टेंस दी, सार्वभौमिकता को इम्पोर्टेंस दी, और कुछ कहा कि कुछ ऐसे अधिकार तो जरूर हैं जो सभी औरतों को मिलने चाहिए, सिर्फ इस नाम पर, क्योंकि वो ह्यूमन बीइंग्स हैं और एक अच्छा जीवन जीने के लिए ये जरूरी है कि उन्हें वो अधिकार मिले। फिर अपने अपने लेक्चर के सेकंड पार्ट में सर ने कुछ फेमिनिस्ट राइटिंग्स के बारे में बताया कि कैसे वो बहुत ही अच्छे लेसन्स हमें देते हैं। जैसे इलिच की बात की सर ने, जूडिथ बटलर की बात की, लूस इरिगरे की बात की, कि किस तरीके से इन सब ने, मैं इतना टाइम नहीं है कि अलग अलग सबको बता पाऊं, लेकिन कैसे किसी ने अगर बताया कि लिंग जो है, जेंडर जो है वो पूरक है, और दोनों हाथों का एग्जाम्पल दिया कि एक हाथ दूसरे का पूरक है, न कि एक दूसरे का विरोधी है। जब तक दोनों मिलके काम नहीं करेंगे तब तक कोई भी काम हो नहीं पाएगा। और ऐसे ही बटलर ने बताया कि सेक्स और जेंडर में कोई अंतर नहीं है, ये हमारा स्टेट ऑफ माइंड है, जिसके वजह से हम उन्हें ऐसे देखते हैं। तो फाइनली सर ने इस संदेश के साथ अपने लेक्चर को खत्म किया कि अगर हमें एक अच्छा जीवन जीना है तो हमें देखना होगा कि हिस्ट्री ऑफ आइडियाज में से हम क्या चीजें ऐसी हैं इम्पोर्टेंट जो सीख सकते हैं। नारीवाद के लिए ये जरूरी है कि वो पितृसत्तात्मक जो व्यवस्था है उसको क्रिटिसाइज करे, लेकिन उसको करने में ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि हम अपनी पॉजिटिविटी को ही भूल जाएं, हम अपनी सकारात्मकता को भूल जाएं। हमें सकारात्मकता को नर्चर करना पड़ेगा, उसे सम्मिलित करना पड़ेगा अपने लाइफ में, अपने जीवन में, इस तरीके से कि हम एक बेहतर ज्ञान मीमांसा को बना सके और उसके थ्रू एक बेहतर जीवन को बना सके। तो सारांश ये था सर के लेक्चर का। मुझे नहीं पता कि मैंने जस्टिस किया कि नहीं किया सर के लेक्चर के साथ, बट ये मेरी समझ रही, जितना मैंने समझा सर को।
नहीं, बिल्कुल सही आपने ट्रांसलेट किया, बिल्कुल सही।
Thank you so much, Ritu. In fact, you spoke better than me.
Thank you so much, sir. Okay.
Ma'am, may I ask a question?
Yes, sir. Sir, please.
Yeah. I totally disagree with Professor Bala when he says that he is not a scholar of feminism. And I think everybody present here will agree with me, because the way wonderfully he presented his lecture, I think very little is left with the questions.
Yes.
Now my question is, this binary epistemology has been very successful in understanding of physical universe. Now you say this is problematic in understanding gender discourse or gender justice or whatever it is. So should we have two epistemologies? This is my first question. Or should we have a single, a different kind of a single epistemology? My second question is very simple, that this point of lived experience is very well taken, but with it, can we throw away the previously targeted patriarchy out of the windows, which constituted the universal of feminist movement? And the third question is, when we talk about specifics, should we talk about complementariness in place of equality now, and especially in the context or Indian cultural context? Thank you.
Yeah, in fact, I know when you started saying that I am a good scholar of feminism, then I know that you would be coming up with a bigger hammer to hit me. No, good. Thank you so much, Alokji, for these three wonderful questions. In fact, yeah, this binary epistemology is of major concern to me, and I have been arguing against that since long. I do understand, as you are saying, that we believe, I'm saying we believe that the physical world is, physical universe is understood only in terms of binary conception. Here, I would request you, in fact, morning I was reading this work of vernacular gender that I have mentioned of Ivan Illich, he specifically talks about this. And he says, in fact, that is far away from the truth, in the sense that the physical universe, what is that? The particle wave distinction. No, we are still not able to understand that. How do we understand light? Whether we should understand it in terms of particle or wave is still undecided. The scholar, the scientist who spoke about that, I forgot the name, is so important. So even with regard to physical universe, it is not that it is binary completely, and beyond the binary conceptions also do exist, even if you take physics to be at the center. That is number one. Number two is, should we go with this? Should we go with two epistemologies? Here, my submission is that if you look at Indian, I will always give an example from the Indian conception. If you look at Indian conception, I can give you alternative epistemologies that are existent in India. For instance, if you look at Aristotle, he tells you that if you want to understand the truth, there is a kind of excluded middle, okay, which means there is a binary conception. There is no middle ground at all. But you come back to Buddhism. Buddhism talks about middle ground. It says you have to avoid the extremes, and you have to avoid the opposite conceptions that you have, and you have to go through the middle path, and middle path is the one which is real. Okay, so you have an alternative conception that is existent, and along with Buddhism, I'll take you to Jainism, where Anekantavada is stressed. It says the reality can never be understood in totality, and that is how all our epistemological conceptions are limited. That is how we have Syadvada, which says that not even just duality, it says plurality. No? Every one of us are limited in our conception. So epistemology is not just dominated by binary kind of one. Okay, and you come to Advaita Vedanta. Advaita Vedanta tells you that as long as you are here, this is real, but that doesn't mean that this is completely real. So it talks about, it gives a different conception of epistemology where the thing is indescribable, anirvachaniya. So I'm just trying to give you, in between these binaries that we have, there is a huge terrain which is also contributed richly by various scholars. And that is how the fuzzy logic in logic tries to be in between these two binaries. Okay, so I can give you examples from various other corners as well, which try to look at or help us to perceive the world beyond these binaries. So the conception that the world can only be seen in terms of binaries is not so dominant now. People are trying to understand the limitations of that. I'm not completely rejecting it. I'm not saying that there are no opposites in the world. I'm saying there are opposites, but understanding everything in terms of opposites is my problem. Okay, so that is how you cannot understand male and female to be opposites. That's a completely utter wrong kind of way of looking at things. So that is how I think I would not go for single epistemology, because I believe that there are plurality of epistemologies that are existent, and we can try to understand the world through them, any one of them. And then yeah, complementariness in the place of equality. Yeah, I think I am with you on this point. To some extent, instead of arguing, I think arguing for equality is also very important. But if you look at history of ideas, as I have tried to explain, at each one of the stages, though they are trying to be more and more equal, no, more and more inclusive in the conception of equality, they were trying to be less and less equal and more unequal, no, unequal, whatever it may be. So you look at the history of ideas, and at every stage you will find this kind of contrasting picture, and that is how a proper deconstruction is required of the history of ideas, of the conception of equality, which would probably give us a drastically complete picture than what we are getting of the conception of equality that we have now. So I'm completely with you on that. Probably understanding or re-understanding or re-articulating, reframing our epistemology in terms of complementarity may definitely help us to create a better kind of world and live in it.
What about specters of patriarchy? That has been.
The one specters of
I think,
patriarchy.
Alokji, let others also ask. You have already asked 3 questions in a go. Let
I
others
missed this question, Alokji.
May I? Hello.
Yeah, Shivani ma'am. Okay, and Dr. Rekha Oja, Shivani ma'am has already
Okay,
asked. Yeah, so your turn will come later on. Okay. Yeah.
So
Now I have to. Please go ahead, Shivani.
All right. I'm sorry for jumping in, because I think that it is for the organizers to see that 1 question per person should be more than enough. But Alokji, as always, is very kind on asking questions. So thank you. It increased our purviews too, not that it was only beneficial for Bala. So congratulations, Bala. It was a wonderful presentation, and I really appreciate the way that you unfolded the entire debate from the binary usage of language to the abstract universal, particular universal, and concrete particular. This was a new addition for me too, and thank you for suggesting the reading on Ivan Gilic that you have just suggested. Now my questions, I have 2 submissions to make. It is a submission and not a question exactly. First of all, when you say that language is binary, I'm hopeful that you are referring to Hindi, English, and all the local languages that we are, Prakrit languages that we are following. And I assume, if you remember, in one context we had a dialogue with on this issue, that Sanskrit does not have this problem. When it comes to English, of course, when I say I for man as for a woman would be equal. But the binary comes when you say she and he. But in Sanskrit, it is not there. Tvaya, Maya. All the pronouns and the 3rd person terms are not gender based. They do not discover, or they do not reveal the gender. So do you feel, I'm not asking you to say yes or no, but do you feel that Sanskrit, being a gender neutral language, should be promoted as the native language of this country, because when it comes to Indian culture, we always fall back on Indian philosophy, which is highly written in Sanskrit itself. So Sanskrit is the ground whereby we all fall back, and then we refer to Indian philosophy in its context. First, this was my question. And again, I would say, when you refer to Buddhism, because you have been referring to 2 frames, epistemology and metaphysics. Metaphysics has to be understood in terms of epistemology. What do you say about Jativad, Buddhism? They say that everything has to be understood through its negation. I'm not approving of it in the discourse of language, philosophy of language as such, but yes, they do have a suggestion to make that all realities, all concepts must be understood through their negation. So do we fall in the same trap? And 3rd question, which just came up as your interaction with Alokji, when you say complementary, I feel that it is a bigger term than equality. You are again falling to this trap of binary. Equality, we need to have again definitions of what is meant by equality. But when you say complementarity, I feel that it is a bigger, it is a larger, it is a wider domain whereby everything comes in and functions in complementarity. Both the genders, when work in complementarity, equality almost leaves that place. That is my submission. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Shivani, for those wonderful questions. In fact, even you raised three issues. Let me start with the first one with regard to the binary. In fact, when I'm talking about, I'm only talking about binary epistemology. I did not enter into the domain of language. Somehow I tried to stay away from it, though I am interested in entering into the domain of language. Yeah, I do agree with you that some of the languages do not have this binary kind of conceptions. And I was not saying that some of the languages have binary conceptions even. But I'm saying the way we look at the world, this is the way we are teaching the students, which means I'm not blaming the language. I'm only blaming the way we are teaching our kids. That is my problem. Okay, my problem is not with the language as such as of now. But I completely agree with you on the point that Sanskrit would be a better language to deal with such kind of conceptions, and it definitely moves beyond the binary conceptions. Though I have less knowledge of Sanskrit, I can support you on that. I agree with you, with regard to that. The second one regarding this Ajativada that you are talking about, like trying to understand the reality as the negation of the other. I think I have to think about it, whether I would completely, where do I place it in the discourse that I have developed. I have to reflect on it. Immediately I cannot really respond to that, but I would definitely reflect on it, because I see a problem, but I am not able to come up with an answer to that. Okay, that's number two. The third one that you spoke about, like complementarity and equality. Yeah, I think what Alokji tried to tell, or which I also said I'm endorsed to some extent, is we are not saying that equality is not important, but the discourse on equality has given more stress, or like more scope for inequality than equality. And that is how, if you try to understand the world in terms of complementarity, then probably what will happen is, yeah, as you are rightly pointing out, the conception of equality itself may disappear. But when you say complement, two or more things are complementary, you always try to give them equal status as well, on the basis of the interdependency of each one of them. Okay, equality in terms of saying that I am different and you are different and we want to be equal is a different kind of epistemology. I have problems with that, but I am constructing a kind of equality that would be rooted in complementarity, where the individual is important, but the importance of the every individual is based on the complementarity of the other, and that is how interdependency and harmony is protected here. So that's where the example that I have mentioned of Ivan Illich, the right hand and left hand kind of things, would really be of good help to us. So thank you so much. Thank you for this.
Thank you, Bala. And it was not Ajativad; it was Apohavad, for your reference. I might correct it. Yeah, Apohavad.
You used Ajativad, so that's what I was like.
Apohavad. I wanted you to complete. Right. You may reflect it.
Now, since we have a paucity of time, so we will be taking only 3 questions, one by Dr. Rekha Oja, and then by Dr. Rajesh Chaurasia, and third one by Dr. Arunima Bhattacharya. So yeah, Dr. Rekha Oja, now you can ask your question.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I always learn from your lecture, and this is the 3rd time I'm hearing you. So the time is very short, so let me ask again. I come to binary epistemology, like when you said about the opposite. Now, when you teach a child, like it's not opposite, it's complementary, the child mind doesn't agree with this, because physically it is very much appeared that the differences are there. So can we do that will make them understand the difference, and then ask them to understand the importance of the difference of both the sexes, This is one. And second was just the observation regarding the way you have like taking. You have talk about abstract universal, then universal particular, then particular universal, concrete particular, all these things. So there is a very heated debate about essentialism, essentialist philosopher, where they all come to a point that if these kind of differences prevail in the society, then at times there will be a divide and rule policy again. If women are not united in a particular point, they cannot fight for their right. Then this is the simple observation, and which I really liked your presentation. So I just want you to react on the first question, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Rekha Oja, for this interesting 2 points that you have made. The first one is when you tell a child that these two are complementary, you're not rejecting the difference. Okay, I'm not asking you to reject the difference. I'm saying these two are different and yet they are complementary. Okay, so when I say right and left hand, these are different yet they are complementary. That's what I'm saying. So I don't see any harm in teaching them to be different and also telling them that they're yet complementary. So that's the first one. And the second one, yeah, essentialism debate. In fact, if you read Martha Nussbaum's capability approach, especially
Yes.
the conception of cultural universals, she responds to universalization or anti-universalists, and she tries to address that. But here, what I'm trying to say is there are two kinds of universalizations or essentialisms that we have to see. One is subject universalism and object universalism. Which one are we targeting is very important for us. Okay. So initially, when in each one of the stages that I spoke about, everybody tries to be universal in themselves. Okay. And that is how they did not give space for the other at all. So you
Right.
do find a kind of injustice and inequalities there as well. So in the process, what every one of them, everyone in each one of these phases, every universal try to subsume the other and objectify the other as well. No, in the
True, sir.
process, say, for example, the criticism of Gayatri Spivak against French feminism is that in the process you have objectified us. No, you did not give any space to us. So the distinction between subject universalism and object universalism is very important in this distinction, in this discussion, which would give a definitely good understanding of the whole issue. Thank you so much for that. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Now, Dr. Rajesh ji, you can ask your question.
Thank you, Rituji. First of all, I want to thank you very much, sir, because it is a very new kind of thing for me actually, and I cannot say that it was good or bad because I am still thinking about many things, and you can you will be know by my questions also that I am still thinking many things. So first of all, when you said that you cannot understand my subjectivity, it sounds me like the famous debate between Socrates and sophists, where sophists were saying that the knowledge is limited to the opinion. So this type of concrete individuality will become opinion. I doubt. I want to find out what will be the finally position of your epistemology. The second one is what will be the solution if two concrete individuals are in conflict. You were talking some type of concrete individual, but the problem is there will be the position also where two concrete individual also in conflict. So some universal in the understanding will be needed there. I think so. And third one is there should be some common universal between two hands. There should be some common universal between two hands. Otherwise, they will always in conflict. Actually, in our epistemology, there is a object and there is a subject. There is a very fundamental dualism in epistemology itself. That's why Krishnamurti said the understanding means the observer observed. Otherwise, the duality will be there. Therefore, the violence will be there. That's all, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rajesh ji, for these three interesting observations that you have made. Yeah, first thing that I would say is you don't have to say whether it is good or bad. Don't become judgmental. There is no need. You can just listen to it, and if you like it, you just enjoy. But don't become judgmental. That's my request from my side. Coming to the first one that you have raised, like when I said, or it's not my statement, in fact, most of the people have said, saying that you cannot reach my subjectivity. For example, Dalit scholars have argued saying that the other cannot understand the subjective, my subjectivity. And feminist scholars have argued saying that the male cannot enter into my subjectivity and understand what I am feeling at my level. Okay, so this discourse is rich, and in fact, it is very well established in the sense that people have clearly argued and established themselves in with the view that yes, it is sometimes very difficult to understand the subjectivity of the each one of them. You cannot completely perceive the subjectivity of the other. When we are saying this, what we mean is we are not saying that there is no kind of communication that is possible between the individuals. But what they're actually trying to say is you cannot exactly reach out to my own lived experience, how I feel about it. Okay, so this is what they were trying to address when they say subjectivity cannot be reached by the other. So that is how the discourse, the whole of feminist discourse is based on that. In fact, okay, that is number one. Number two is two concrete individuals can come in conflict with each other. It is possible, right? Because any two individuals can come in conflict with each other. I am not denying the possibility of the conflict. But at the same time, what I'm trying to say is putting them in the binary perspective and trying to put them in conflict and establish their epistemologies in such a way that they would always be in conflict is a problematic kind of one. Okay, but otherwise in the life, we always come in conflict, and we always come in contact with each other, and these are the possible things that happen in the life, and nobody can completely deny or reject them outrightly. So coming to the third one, the common universal is required between two hands to manage. This I have a problem because see, if you look at the holistic epistemology, if you conceive a holistic epistemology, it would say that there are individual things that are existent, okay, and all these individual things are or separately unique, and also each one of them require the other, and there is a kind of alignment that builds in among them. For instance, if you look at your body, have you ever seen your right hand coming in conflict with the left hand? Unless you intentionally do it on its own, it will never come in conflict. And when you are performing an action, one would try to complement the other rather than come in conflict with the other. So the alignment of the body is in such a way that there is a holisticness, there is also an integratedness, and one will not come in conflict with the other, or something else need not be there to detach them from the conflict. Okay, so that is how there is no need of common universal to come into picture from outside. No, within there would be one, okay, which would be joining all of them, but there is no common universal that has to come from outside. No, that's what I would understand. So thank you so much for these questions.
Okay. Now I would like Arunima ji to ask her question.
Okay.
Good afternoon, sir. This is Anurima Bhattacharya from the University of North Bengal. To be very honest, I had not heard the entire lecture today. I was not right there from the starting, but the bit I could hear and what I gathered from the presidential address you gave in the inaugural session, and also Rituji's summary of your lecture today, I had an observation that are you trying to hint towards, though it is an epistemological theory you were trying to present, is there somewhere a hint of the absolute theory or absolutism of Hegel? Okay, so because when we see the Hegelian theory of dialectic, we see that he tries to understand the binaries not as contradictions, but he tries to cancel the conflict between the thesis and antithesis, and he tries to preserve the elements of each and then transcend the opposition and raise to a higher level of truth. Okay, so here we find that he tries to understand that each and every reality which we come across is only portion of the absolute reality. So is there any hint towards the absolutism of Hegel in your theory? Do you have that at all in your mind, firstly? And secondly, I would like to support you or your idea of complementing or complementaries instead of making the equalities, in the sense that I would like to refer one book by John Gray. That's my favorite book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Okay, so he is trying to say that accept the differences. When men and women are able to respect and accept the differences, then only the relationships have a chance to blossom, then only the love has a chance to blossom. So it is better that we accept the differences rather than try to understand both as equal. So that's not a solution. The solution lies in accepting differences and moving along with that. So I do agree that complementing and accepting differences are a better option than moving towards equality. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Anurimaji, for that wonderful question, as well as the comment that you have made regarding this complementarity and equality distinction. Coming to the first one, when I'm referring to this binary, I don't have Hegel in my conception at all when I'm saying this, because Hegelian dialectics, in fact, says the binary has to exist, because binary is the one which would lead to thesis and antithesis are required so that senses can be achieved. So I don't agree with such kind of a conception when I'm going with this understanding of going beyond the binary. So I'm not with that. No? The second one, yeah, it is true. Thank you so much for agreeing with us that complementarity is to be nurtured than giving more importance to equality. You know, that's how probably the future generations have to look at the world or make the world more peaceful for them. You know? But for that, we have our own duty of telling them that you should not look at the world this way. Right? Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, sir. And you can understand, and by reading the chat box, that how people have been interested in your lecture, and so many questions are there in their minds, and you have stimulated them to think about the issues which you have talked about. So whenever there is any lecture which stimulates the mind of people, that is the best lecture, I guess. So the purpose is done, fulfilled, and since we cannot take any further questions, so because of the limitation of the time, and we have another session at 4 o'clock too. So I would like to thank you, sir, for presenting the distinction between feminism and feminisms, and so many different parts of how universal has already was tried to be established by the thinkers, by political thinkers and philosophical thinkers, and yet it has been criticized by feminist thinkers, and then further feminist thinkers have been criticized by these various sections of other post-colonial thinkers. So this shows, this tradition shows that we are not going to stop anywhere. We will always think and come up with new solution in order to make our lives better. So that is the purpose of this workshop, that after listening to these lectures, you should be getting these ideas so that you can work on that, and you can also think on that, and you can influence your society. So with these words, I would like to invite Archana ma'am to say a few words and end the session. Archana ma'am?
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much. Let me, from my side, thank all of you for your questions and making it very vibrant, the discussion forum. Thank you so much to all of you. And I thank Ritu for this wonderful translation that she has done. Thank Archana ji for facilitating this. And if there are
Thank
any
you so much,
questions,
sir.
I welcome them and I would be happy to respond to them. Ritu, if you can save the chat and send it to me if there are any questions, I don't mind responding by email to them. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
Archana
you.
ma'am?
Thank
Hello,
you, sir. Thank you.
Ritu, just one sentence. I
Yes.
would like to thank you so much. Your translation is really, really good. It really works. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really, really. The next session, 4 o'clock. At 4 o'clock, we have two speakers, Professor Ranjana Seth, Department of Economics, Vasanta College for Women, and Dr. Ritu, Department of Philosophy, Delhi University. So we will meet at 4 o'clock. एंड बाला सर, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपको सर, बहुत बढ़िया लेक्चर रहा, अच्छा रहा सर, थैंक यू सो मच.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you so much, the audience, for patiently being here with us. Thank you so much. And we will be meeting once again at 4 o'clock. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
And thank you, Dr. Ritu.